Okay, so here's a funny one. I made the last Leaks Rumors episode on the 2019 iPhones last week, covering that square triple lens camera module that OnLeaks leaked. And in the meantime, a second design has been leaked as well, and the third one, and the fourth one. So here's everything you need to know about all of those, plus a few more updates on the 2019 iPhones, and even further than that. So yeah, grab some popcorn, drinks, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, so shortly after OnLeaks leaked that squared-off camera module design for the 2019 iPhones, he posted another version of that, so meet the Cyclops iPhone 11. So this one still has the 3 camera modules, just like the previous model, but the flash is now a circle rather than a full module itself, and it now sits around the middle camera. Now, the iPhone XS, for example, comes with a quad LED True Tone flash, and it's really one of the most powerful flash modules on any smartphone. Not only that, but whenever you take a photo in low light with the flash enabled, it automatically adjusts its white balance in order to match the outside lighting conditions, hence the True Tone name. This is all done in order to avoid that bright white look that photos taken with the flash enabled normally have. By having a single circle around one module, Apple would have to reduce the quality of the flash considerably. True Tone is still doable, but instead of the quad LED flash, obviously we wouldn't have room for a quad LED flash, so we might just get a dual or even just a single LED one. Personally, I never use the flash, like ever. I always prefer using a long exposure whenever I get a chance to. Okay, but why do we have 2 completely different designs leaked by OnLeaks? Well, apparently these 2 designs are both being tested by Apple. So these are currently prototypes that Apple is doing some tests on, and they're still in the EVT stage, or engineering validation test stage. So Apple has yet to decide on which model to go with for various different reasons. Now, normally I'm really skeptical when seeing random renders of upcoming iPhones, but these ones were made based on OnLeaks' sources, and he's had a pretty good past track record in the past, essentially, with all his leaks, especially with the iPad Pro 2018's design. When everyone believed it was fake, it actually turned out to be actually, the real thing, with that squared-off design and the smart connector on the back, so there's a very high possibility that these are actually legit. Now, personally, I do prefer the squared-off camera module prototype, but even that one looks really odd, so the flash was all the way to the top right rather than being, in the middle, so that the light would be received in equal amounts by each camera module, so that wasn't the case, which was a bit odd. The second prototype, the Cyclops one, looks even weirder. The flash does look nicer the way it surrounds the middle module, but why is the module there in the first place? Benjamin Gaskin did his variant of this concept where he put a module vertically in the exact same place where it is on the iPhone XS, and that makes a lot of sense. I also think that it looks better, or maybe that's just me being so used to having the module on the side on an iPhone. Because fun fact, Apple has never had a camera module in the middle of their phones, like ever. Interesting. Finally, Apple iDesigner made an even better illustration of how Apple could implement all this. So instead of having the flash module around the middle lens, iDesigner envisioned this being all around the entire camera module itself, and it looks insane. I mean, this way Apple could indeed use quad LEDs, or even more than that in this design, while also achieving perfect lighting distribution in equal amounts for each one of the modules. So I really hope that Apple would be doing something similar, because this is honestly a brilliant idea. Here's the ZONEofTECH concepts based on all the leaks that we've had before, including Venya Gaskin's and Apple iDesigner's renders. So do let me know in the comments, which one do you prefer, which one do you like? Personally, I would go with Apple's iDesigner's one, because I think that one looks amazing. Okay. So what other updates do we have in terms of the 2019 iPhones? Anything new, anything interesting aside from, those design links that I've already covered? Well, a new report coming from the Wall Street Journal claims that Apple would be fully switching to OLED displays in 2020. Not 2019, but 2020. And I mean, come on, Apple. The iPhone XR, for example, starts at £750 in the UK, so it's nowhere near a budget phone. And yes, the LCD panel on the XR is indeed the best one on any LCD phone, but it still cannot compete with something like, the OLED technology. The OLED panels that we have on phones such as the OnePlus 6T, which starts from £500. So a really big difference in terms of the price between the two, and also in terms of the display. And then Samsung switched to OLED panels on their Galaxy S series in 2010. So Apple would be 10 years late to the party. That's all I'm gonna say. And here's an interesting one. So we've actually had a massive report recently posted on Weibo by an anonymous user, and this was picked up by ZONEofTECH, claiming that Apple would be adding a 4000 mAh battery, a 120 Hz ProMotion display, as well as 15 watt fast wireless charging actually to the new iPhones. That's awesome, but obviously this turned out to be fake because it was all based on a wish list that Benjamin Gaskin made on Twitter and nothing more than that. And realistically, a ProMotion 120Hz display would be amazing to have on an iPhone, literally the best thing ever, but I don't see this happening. So the reason why Apple added the ProMotion display, the 120Hz panel on the iPad Pros back in 2017 was because of the Apple Pencil. So they wanted to get a better and much more fluid response from the Apple Pencil, and that's why they added that display, that refresh rates. And I have to say, once you start using the iPad Pro 10.5-inch or the new 11-inch, you'll immediately see how slow 60 Hz feels like when going back to the iPhones. I do wish that Apple would add this, but realistically, it's probably not happening. So I don't know, it seems like the iPhone 11 would honestly be quite boring. So aside from the triple lens camera module and the slightly smaller notch, there's nothing to look forward to. I mean, we've gotten to a point where, smartphones have mostly reached their pinnacle of evolution, so to say. Give it 10 years max, and they would be nothing more than a sheet of glass with no notch, no visible buttons, probably no visible ports either, just wireless charging, essentially a full display in your hand. And from there, we'll go to, foldable devices and mostly focus on that. And that's about it. Speaking of the future, Apple is indeed working on some pretty interesting concepts and patents that they've applied for recently. So, for example, they've just applied for a new patent in January 2019, and it's mostly just some extra documents actually that Apple added to its already existent patent of an iPad being used as a display for a MacBook. So this is a MacBook enclosure, and then you put the iPad as a display, and it probably acts as a processing power as well. And then you put the iPhone that acts as a trackpad. So that's definitely an interesting concept, but would it work? Maybe. I think it would work as long as Apple's not pricing the keyboard enclosure too high. I mean, if this thing sells for $200 or so, and if you already have an iPad and an iPhone, then this would be the perfect way to turn these into a MacBook, for when you're working rather than having to buy a separate MacBook entirely. But then if you have, I don't know, if you have this issue where you're, let's say, in an office and someone's calling you and you have to go on the hallway to take the call, then you have to remove the iPhone from the enclosure, which would be quite a bit of a hassle. So I feel like this enclosure could work as long as you only have to sacrifice one device rather than two. So for example, if the trackpad was built into the enclosure and the only thing that you would have to attach would be the iPad, then yeah, you could essentially turn this into a MacBook without having to sacrifice your iPhone. So yeah, this is a concept that I would love to have and try. But then, even then, if you're traveling and you're on a plane, let's say, and you want to watch a movie and there's not enough space for you on that tiny plane tray, you would have to remove the iPad from the enclosure, which would result in you having two devices in your bag, if you know what I mean. Whereas if you have something like a Microsoft Surface Pro, the keyboard can actually fold on its back, which is more convenient, way more convenient. But yeah, definitely do let me know in the comments what do you guys think of this patent that Apple applied for. And what would you say is the best way to implement such a concept? And then another patent posted by Patently Apple back in December 2018 shows glass coatings that could be applied to a foldable iPhone in order to protect the glass from taking any damage when the device is bent in half. And then another Apple patent from November 2018 shows a flexible iPhone with a wraparound display that actually covers both the front as well as the back. So this is pretty cool. There are actually 0 buttons on this, as well as 0 ports. So this is pretty much what Apple's envisioning for the future, a phone with just a display, no ports, no buttons, wireless charging, and that's about it. But yeah, nothing too exciting in terms of the 2019 iPhone. But yeah, the future is definitely looking bright with all the upcoming foldable and flexible tech that companies such as Apple, Samsung, Huawei, and also Xiaomi are working towards. Also, speaking of foldable phones and cool tech, check out the previous videos that I've done on the Galaxy X, and also the Royal Flex Pi, which is actually the first foldable and flexible phone that we have that was introduced at CES 2019 Tech. So check out this video, Top 10 2019 CES Tech Announcements. Pretty cool video to check out. But yeah, definitely subscribe, enable notifications if you're new to the channel and you want to see more interesting tech videos like this one. Hopefully this was interesting, or at least numerous episodes like this one. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed it, and yeah, this has been pretty much it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the future of the 2019 iPhones and the future of foldable tech. But yeah, this has been pretty much it. Some quick updates on everything new in terms of the 2019 iPhone 11. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.